Cross-Cultural Parent Engagement by Maya Bradford, Christina Curry, and Alexandria Turner.
Defining parent engagement. The traditional definition of parent involvement revolves around the idea that all parents should be contributing via commitment in the classroom as well as at home. We typically think of things like donating communal goods for the classroom, like tissues or pencils, chaperoning field trips, holding PTA positions or attending meetings, and attending parent-teacher back-to-school meetings or showcase nights as being involved. We also expect parents to be helping at home with homework, projects, studying, and teaching values and respect. But in reality, not all parents can contribute in all ways. Many parents are contributing via support for their students at home, like things like helping with homework and studying, but they aren't always able to contribute in the classroom. This type of involvement tends to get downplayed, especially in comparison to the donation of goods or time in the classroom. Parental involvement relationships with schools tend to be extremely one-way. They expect high levels of parent involvement from all parents at all times, but schools make it difficult for parents to contribute by making meetings, events, and volunteering during work hours, and by not providing options for childcare during these events.
Parent engagement with multicultural students faces unique challenges. These could include involving language barriers. Parents may have differing priorities for their students. What can we do about that? Ask parents to help you learn more about their culture. Be aware of parent priorities for their students and what their concerns and worries may be. Promote the idea of differences versus deficits, and encourage participation in programs such as the PTO. Sometimes they will have outreach with bilingual parents.
Immigrant parent involvement. Many immigrant parents face a higher degree of difficulty getting involved. This can include language barriers, which are often difficult to arrange for translation of paperwork or for the translator to be present. They could struggle to understand invitations and opportunities that are sent home. Cultural barriers, where many groups such as Latino parents value the position of the teacher very highly and want to avoid interfering with school settings for fear of impacting the teacher's position. Lack of knowledge. School systems vary throughout the world, and parents may not be involved because they don't know or understand the right ways to be involved. Immigrant isolation. Adults entering the community with language or cultural barriers are likely to be isolated and to be not only uninvolved in schools, but also in the community as a whole. Immigration status. Parents who do not possess legal immigration status are less likely or will not be able to volunteer when social security numbers or address informations, fingerprints, or background checks are needed in order to be involved.
Parenting styles. Authoritative versus authoritarian versus permissive. Different cultures tend to have different parenting styles, and while no culture has just one way of parenting, it is important to be mindful of the ways that culture impacts parenting styles. In your classroom, it is also important to note that the different styles of parenting will potentially impact how students interact within your classroom. There are three main types of parenting. The first style is authoritative, which involves high control and high support for students. The second is authoritarian, which is high control but low support. And lastly is permissive, which includes low control and high support. No one parent fits into any one of these boxes. They fluctuate over time and with age, and sometimes even between their children. So it's important to keep in mind how a parent chooses to parent when considering how to increase involvement for the classroom.
Parent involvement is valuable in many ways. Social competency, dedication to schoolwork and students, overall academic success, and social capital are all examples of student values that increase with parental involvement. Several studies have also shown that by increasing parental engagement, schools have been able to decrease the achievement gap.
As educators, we can provide materials in multiple languages, be open to authentic face-to-face conversations, be willing to meet when it is convenient for families, make sure communications are non-judgmental, make a continued effort to encourage support not just at the start of the school year, and staff development on cultural differences and community backgrounds, and involve community outreach to battle against immigration isolation.
Two types of parent-teacher conferences. Conferences are one of the most effective ways to communicate with parents. They can lead to positive and open communicative relationships between the school and home. Sometimes difficult and sensitive information needs to be discussed in order to collaborate and come up with the best solution for the student. Communicating these subjects in a way that allows the parents from different cultural backgrounds to feel comfortable and motivated to be hands-on in their child's education is critical. It is important to note that these tips are valuable for any conferences with parents, but are extremely important to build relationships with the parents of other cultures. The first step is making sure you have a balance of casual and purposeful conferences throughout the school year. Casual conferences are unscheduled chats that could happen over the phone, through email, or in person. The first casual conference should happen at the beginning of the school year to introduce yourself, open lines of communication, and to show them that they are a valued part of the process of their child's education. This is also an excellent way to get to know their culture and get to know your students on a deeper level. Purposeful conferences are conferences that are scheduled to talk about a specific subject. This requires preparation on your part.
In preparing for purposeful conferences, it's important to think about the difficulties that may arise. Are there language barriers? Are there cultural barriers? All of this should be observed from previous casual conversations with a parent. This is why it is so important not to wait. After you've assessed the possible barriers, then it is time to decide what is the best way to communicate. Though both parents must be invited, they are not necessarily the only people that may be required to be there. Any significant family member should have the opportunity to be included. Next, it is important to take a good hard look at feelings you hold toward that parent or student and how might culture be affecting that. It is important to not only be culturally aware, but to appreciate different cultures as well. This includes perceptions of families, family roles, and expectations of behavior and academic performance. Another factor to consider is making sure the physical arrangements of the conference are conducive to open communication. For example, removing objects obstructing each other's views and sitting at eye level. Avoiding environments that make the parent feel inferior, such as sitting behind your desk, is important. If possible, have the meeting in a conference room or outside of the school. The delivery of the information must be clear and constructive. This includes avoiding jargon and including descriptive observation and data when communicating issues. At the end of the meeting, a recap of the information should be given, and a short and long-term goals should be set. It is important to follow up with the parent after the meeting. Communication must be a continual effort.
Class connections. Cross-cultural parent engagement can benefit students in a variety of ways. As our readings through the semester have alluded to, understanding a student's culture allows you to properly adapt to their educational needs. For instance, as Powell's article mentions, some students feel more comfortable in an educational setting when they're allowed to use their preferred vernacular. In addition, as Jacqueline Clayton states, not everyone is socialized the same way we are. Even as educators, we need to be continually learning.
References. Picture references.